Welcome to the Inflection Podcast, where we explore the pivotal moments that have shaped us into who we are today. I am your host, Anabi, and I can't wait to dive into these moments with you. Let's get it. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Inflection Podcast. I'm pleased today to have here with me Dane, one of the co-founders of Digitanity, an employer of record focused on helping companies expand their teams into the EU. Dane, thank you so much for hopping on board with us today.
Hey, thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh. I am glad we made this happen. When we met a little bit ago, when we were talking about Digitanity, I was very inspired by your model and how you help companies expand into the EU. So I wanted to bring you on. Let's blow it up a bit. Why Digitanity? Like, how did you come about with that? You stumble across it, or was it a series of ahas?
A little bit of both. The partners, the co-founders of Digitanity, everybody that came on board to make this happen, we all worked together in the past. And working in IT, it's constantly evolving, and there's emerging trends, emerging technologies. And just through our working together, we noticed a level of need in the industry where we were working with clients that were leveraging 20, 30, 40 people at a time with us on a monthly basis. And there comes a certain point where if you're working as a subcontractor or an outsourcing entity, that's great, right? From a client perspective. But we always talked about, wouldn't it be great if we could essentially hire employees for clients and act as that employer of record versus being this outsourcing agency? And that really would allow these companies to be able to manage these employees as their own internal employees. They don't lose money on training individuals every 6 months and having them being rotated off of that job and going to another client of ours, at least in the past, is what we were looking at. And you'd have a lot of people that would be essentially considered a core member of a certain team.
Yeah.
And in outsourcing and subcontracting, typically members are constantly rotated from one project to the next. And another thing we looked at also was the fact that whenever we were engaging with clients and they would ask us if we had employees that had a certain level of experience around tech stack.
Yeah.
Typically, when you're trying to fit employees in that staff aug type relationship or outsourcing, you're fitting employees that might be a 75% fit or an 80% fit. So this was another area we were like, if we're acting as an employer of record, we're essentially recruiting people for them. They're interviewing them. So at the end of the day, they're essentially getting 100% fit from a cultural perspective, company culture, from a perspective of the person fit the needs as far as the tech stack and soft skills that are required for the role. And at the end of the day, they're going to get an employee that eventually they can take over in a year or 2 or 3, depending on how well-rounded that team becomes. Our goal is always to build out teams, but we can always start with one.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like when that team is matured, they have that opportunity where we help them set up their own entity and assist with the seamless transition or transfer of that team over to the umbrella of their own company. So it really allows people to be able to hire their own people internally. We're managing the back end, the payroll, taxation, HR, office space, admin. We even do team building events for these individuals.
Wow.
And the beauty of it is it's a pay as you go model, right? So they're not, if they were to do this on their own, which a lot of companies do, they're evaluating the market in the region. They're evaluating what type of technologies are out there and people of what level of experience are out there. They might bring in their own team to their own recruiting team or a startup, but at the end of the day, you're invested. You could be investing a €500,000, close to €1 million. 16 months down the road, you might at that point have a team that's delivering some type of deliverable, some type of code, right? Whereas we can essentially onboard the first 7 people in 6 to 8 weeks time and start building the team slowly that way, gradually. So when we realized that part that was missing in the industry, we started researching more about what build, operate, transfer meant to BOT. Um, and it wasn't missing because we thought we had this great, amazing new idea. It'd been out there for the last 15 years. It's just that it wasn't utilized as much as it has been now in a post-COVID environment. Companies realized that they can literally have people work all over the world, and it's not going to affect their deliverable. It will definitely affect their profits. Their profits will go higher, right? They'll be able to save, but so it's no longer. I guess it's no longer a question of why remote or why work with other companies across the globe, because that's been justified through COVID.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, hey, what countries do we start off with? Where do we go? Where is the talent? Where's the best talent out there?
Yeah.
So,
That's been very interesting with how COVID helped, for lack of a better term, equalize talent access a little bit around the world. Companies moved mostly remote, or many companies moved mostly remote, and then realized, oh, yeah, and then the employees are moving to other countries, and all of a sudden, right, you are working with folks who on staff were stateside. Maybe at some point you were hiring predominantly stateside, but you realize, oh, I can work with people in Europe
mhm.
or in India or whatever, and still get good level of productivity and a cultural fit. And then there were the companies that started actively hiring in those places. I realized, oh, it's not so bad. Now I do realize there's some companies that by nature of the kind of business they're doing, it just makes sense to hire stateside. But sometimes it's not due to any core requirements. It's just being comfortable hiring here. I have hired around the world in Europe, in India, in Africa, South, all around. I was joking the other day. I said, I've hired in every continent except for Antarctic. But you just realize there's high quality talent around the world. And then the question becomes the administrative burden. And I think that's where EORs, what Digitanity is building. Along that process for you, have there been pivots along the way and things you decided to focus more on? So I know it's very complex running an EO. I've worked with other EORs and
Mhm.
there's 1,000 different pieces abstracted away neatly. So for you guys, as you scaled as an EOR, are there certain pivots you've had to tweak along the way to streamline that operation?
I mean, the biggest thing for us, I think our background and working with each other in the past and understanding some of the pitfalls in staff aug and where we've adopted a lot of what we've learned over the past 12 years of working together in those type of engagements and incorporated that into a typical EOR type of relationship or build, operate, transfer.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously things change all the time. And every single one of our clients is very unique in their business models and how they operate. So it's a matter of trying to essentially customize your offering according to what their needs are. Obviously, we offer what we offer, but some clients might want to perform a level of branding in a portion of the office space that we have to make it feel more like their organization if the employees are already being hired through that. So that's something that we also talked about offering.
Essentially, you're like white label. You hire for them, it's an EOR, but branding, customization, all of that could
Mhm.
still be the clients. Okay.
And then the other thing we also noticed was I think that we were being looked at in the beginning, and that comes from a marketing and sales perspective too. How are we being looked at by our market, by the people that we're looking to chase after?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's very difficult because people still revert back to, oh, you guys are an outsourcing agency or you do subcontracting. And it's not that simple because we work with organizations that essentially sometimes are trying to offset cost by hiring specific roles in other portions of the world so they can pay some of their local staff more. So
Yeah.
let's say an average pay rate of an architect's level role that that the gentleman has or the person has more than 10 years experience and is making 180 or $220,000 per year here.
Yeah.
And our client can offer 250 to have them stay, or because they're able to offset that cost by employing other talent in Europe for a fraction of the cost. So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily always not utilizing US talent. It's a matter of,
Yeah.
let's offset some costs so we can pay our team members here in the US a little bit more,
Yeah.
make them happy with their compensation packages. So that's when we talk about that's almost like talking about how do we pitch this and how do we talk about it that way to a client to make them understand. We're not looking at having you lay off or fire your
Yeah.
local staff. We're looking at helping you afford your local staff, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a good perspective.
that's some of one of the various pitches that when we talk to clients is really getting to understand what our clients are going through and what's making them decide to go to Europe or anywhere in the world for that matter. Is it because they're looking at different markets? Are they looking to
Mhm.
sell into different markets? Are they receiving Series A or Series B funding to expand into the region? Are they having troubles finding people locally in that specific role? So there's all these different things that when we're talking to our clients, we try to understand what are the reasons that you're doing this and what's your objective at the end of the day. And so
Yeah.
we can set those proper expectations and really try to understand, is this a client that we can help?
Absolutely. What's in the name? What's in the name? Digitanity.
To this day, it was one of those where, what do we call the company? What do we call the company? And one of our partners in the beginning is, let's just call it Digitanity. And we're like, well, why? And it's Digitanity. That, so I never got a good explanation from it, but I'm like, can we just keep it something short? And it was one of those. Digitanity stuck and I like the way it sounds now. So it's grown on me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was just wondering. I was trying to look it up because does this mean something? That's good though. That's good.
The days of the yellow pages, it's definitely in the beginning pages of the phone book,
Yeah.
the business phone book, right? With a D.
Yeah. That's awesome. Are there some leadership anecdotes that you've observed, some memorable ones, or things even for you that you've learned and picked up over the years that have influenced you?
I've been a part of multiple startups over the years. My first startup was a textile business that I started up
Wow,
in the early
textile.
2000s. Yeah, actually, the textile business, after I sold that, is when I got recruited to get into IT. But
That is
textiles,
cool.
we literally started our business from the basement up. When they talk about the American dream starting from your garage or your basement, we did start in the basement of our first home, and we started sewing U.S. flags to begin with. The demand was there. We had a couple of really good connections with vendors that were top 5 and top 6 suppliers of
Wow.
U.S. flags in the U.S. And we built our business slowly. Ended up going from 3 or 4 workers all the way up to 38 workers,
Oh my gosh.
working multiple shifts. And then we started getting into sewing clothing. We started getting into sewing custom flags for direct clients. So we opened up a B2C channel. And then we started opening up, we started acquiring different machine equipment to be able to do embroidery and applique. So it was a full-fledged textile company or sewing
Ah,
house. And after that was sold to one of our largest customers, I was brought in to help them eat her flag. I was helped to I was brought in to help them build out their production line based on what I had come up with at our small company. When you're dealing with a extremely small budget,
yeah.
got creative and we helped them build out and brought them to number 3 in the US as far as third largest US manufacturer in the US. And I think they're even on the Discovery Channel now
Wow.
as far as a documentary that they had about them. But the thing I've learned through the years, from moving from textiles, worked with for Eater Flag after I left Dunav, which was the first company that I founded, and then got recruited by an IT company. And that's when I moved to Serbia with my family and we started working for that startup. Uh, there's that level of, there's been ups and downs in essentially my working career. I've been a founder. I've gone from founder to entry level business development representative up to another leading role down to, and so there's this entire synchronization of the different roles I've carried in my life. And even before the textile business, I was in a completely different, I was in the machine trade, glue and
Wow.
dye. So if anything has taught me, it's to be able to listen to people, have that sense of, or have humility and being able to empathize with individuals around you, because one day you could be that individual's boss, another day that person could be yours.
Yeah.
And it's that level of teamwork and understanding when you're talking to people. I have one person that I worked with in sales, um, the job that I was brought on to when I was recruited from after I sold my first company, and it was strictly sales, and it was an IT sales. Once I was onboarded and was successfully selling for those first couple of years and bringing in some large contracts, sports brands you and fashion brands you would definitely know if I mentioned them.
Yeah.
We started building on a sales engine. We started hiring salespeople that we were mentoring and teaching. And I have one of the individuals thanks me to this day on where he is as far as the success of what he's seeing. And it wasn't, I really didn't do anything special,
Yeah.
but first of all, I'm happy and I'm proud I'm working with that individual, but he talks about us and our team of he wouldn't be where he is today if it wasn't for us. And it was the same thing with our company. Before I sold my company, I literally had employees crying because we were selling our company to one of our clients. So I think it's that level of like really working with people that you could see as
Hmm.
family. These are your family members. I think that's that the company culture that we see whenever we work with individuals, even here at Digitanity. One of the partners that I work closely with is Ivan, and he's located in the Bulgaria office. And it's one of those that we really try to deliver that feeling of like you're a part of a team, regardless that you're working for a client and you are their employee. While you're employed through Digitanity as an EOR, we will take care of you and you're part of this larger family. So
Yeah.
yeah, listening to needs. And again, pivoting when it comes to the business requirements of all of these clients that we get. So.
That's helpful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to do a super quick exercise. I'll say 3 words, and you say the first word that comes to mind with that. Don't worry, I was, I was kidding. The first, about 3 or 4 words.
Okay.
Business.
Hard.
Okay, great. AI.
Unbelievably. Imagine AI. Let's see. The new direction.
Say that again.
New direction.
New direction. I love it. Let's see. Startup.
Fun.
Fun. Oh, I love it. And leadership.
Challenging.
Challenging. Also. Thank you. I just figured I'd throw that in there. See what comes to mind. But for those listening who are looking to start a business, grow a business, might not even necessarily be in the talent space like you, but what is one key thing you would tell such a person, or few things, if you have several, but what would you say? What's a piece of advice you would leave them with?
I would say create a good business plan. Really try and figure out what it is, what that niche is going to be in the environment. It really depends on what you're looking to achieve with this business,
Yeah.
right? Are you looking to get rich fast, or are you looking to create a business that could potentially change the way that people think, or change the way that your services are being offered in the industry that are not being offered to this day? So a good business plan, making sure that you're going to have a healthy budget, because you are going to be burning through a lot of cash in the beginning, in some
Yeah.
cases, even in the third year, and stay positive because there will be some major ups and downs. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Starting businesses is exciting. It really is, but you need to have a good, healthy business plan from the get go,
Mhm.
and not being afraid to change, or edit that plan as it goes along. But
Yeah.
you really need to have a good plan starting from the beginning. Um,
Thank you.
know when to stop. If it's not working out, don't throw in your entire life savings to continue on with it, because there's
Yeah.
other ideas that might emerge in your lifespan that might be there's no law that prevents a person from opening up multiple businesses throughout the course of their life.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs do it all the time in the IT arena, but I think that when I opened up my sewing company, I thought that, hey, I did it. I started my own company. I sold it. I'm done. And it's not the case. It's just create a good business plan and set your expectations to the point where you know that you will be burning through cash and not be cash positive until your third year. And you might be.
Yeah. That's the expectation more realistic. I like the term I've been noodling on called pragmatic optimism,
Mhm.
where your posture is still optimistic. Don't want to be pessimistic. No one wants to hang around a person like that. But you also want to be pragmatic. Okay, it's going to take 3 years. Now that I know that, set that expectation. What tweaks do I need to make?
Mhm.
So be hopeful, but plan.
Yeah, the business plan might say, you're always talking about when do you think we're going to be cash positive based on everything that we're putting out there?
Yeah.
And you would want to be cash positive in your 6th month, but it's not realistic. It's not a realistic goal.
Yeah.
So setting those expectations, I really believe is one of the major keys to a successful long-term venture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. You and I are both in the Phoenix area for now, and
Mhm.
we love Phoenix and growing businesses here. But what are some things in the ecosystem would you say that have been helpful to you, and why Phoenix?
So I came on our company and we became a member of the Arizona Technology Council not too long ago. I
Awesome.
think that's a very helpful channel on businesses here in Arizona getting together, especially in the tech industry. And it really doesn't matter if it's IT or if it's fintech or medtech or whatnot. But that's very helpful. Phoenix, I think doesn't get. It's not looked at in the light of, for example, like it is California, right? In the state of
Yeah.
California, people are constantly moving there, especially when it comes to tech centers. Or now Texas
Yeah.
is becoming a major tech hub, right? Um, but the way I see it is Phoenix, with the way that they allow business to operate here in Arizona, I think is a great location. You're literally, in some cases, 5.5 hour drive away from the ocean side, and really 5.5 hours away from most of the businesses you'd be approaching anyway, as far as the tech industry, right?
Yeah.
I love the area just because you don't have to worry about it not being sunny the next day.
Yeah.
The temperature is
Yeah.
great for the most part throughout the entire year. I don't know. Phoenix to me was probably the greatest decision that we made as
That's
an
amazing.
organization and as a family. So
Man, that's awesome. The Phoenix needs to, Arizona in general, needs to hit you up to help spread the gospel. That's beautiful. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Dave, it was a pleasure to have you on. Do you have any calls to actions, like things y'all are working on Digitanity and ways folks can engage with you for this year?
absolutely. Absolutely. And we're not necessarily offering just these services to companies that are in technology. We're being approached by companies that are looking to build out call centers. So it's a matter of really talking to us to understand if this is something that we can help you out with. Get out on our page, www.digitanity.com. So it's www.digitanity.com. You can always set up a meeting through the website or get on to my LinkedIn page. I believe it's Dane Vig. So the LinkedIn and then Dane Vig and the URL. But I think that those are the best ways to contact us. And we can definitely help, even if you're looking to start with one employee and expand your team over the course of a year or two or three. But we're here to help. So get on our website, check us out, and we can talk.
Fantastic. And I'll put links to all of these in the show notes as well for folks to quickly grab them. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dane. Been a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much, and Abby. Take care.
You too.
Take care, everyone.